So today, major information came out that the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners are not looking to renegotiate their contracts past 2025, and this is a major development and has huge implications not only for the two institutions in question, but for the Big 12, the SEC, and college football as a whole, and we need to briefly break it down. Nothing too much because other great content creators are lined up to come on the channel very soon so we can talk about this issue and you do not want to miss it. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from y'all. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. And as rumor has quickly turned into reality, are you excited at the prospect of the Sooners and the Texas Longhorns possibly joining the SEC? Let me know what you're thinking there. And if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, because I do constant college football content and you don't want to miss any of it. And one of the things I've thought about at length is, where did this all begin? And though it's hard to pin down exactly where, I think one of the main things that has been on my mind is the changing landscape in college football as a whole, and that as it pertains to monetization in particular, I should say. And one of the things that has really stood out to me is this summer, as the Supreme Court heard a case about the NCAA, Justice Kavanaugh, in his concurring opinion, was condemning the NCAA to a point that was a little bit surprising. And Justice Kavanaugh went on to say that nowhere else in America can businesses get away with agreeing not to pay their workers a fair market rate on the theory that their product is defined by not paying their workers a fair market rate. And under ordinary principles of antitrust law, it is not evident why college sports should be any different. Now, this was a major shot at the NCAA. And for those of us that are really watching this situation very closely, it seemed to be a sign that the Supreme Court, the highest law in the land, is interested and has its eyes set and sights aimed at the NCAA. To me, this sounds like the court is begging for anybody to challenge the NCAA's business model and then have that go through the appellate process so that the Supreme Court can hear it. That, to me, is what that indicates. So what that means ultimately is that the Supreme Court has had their say about the NCAA, or at least Justice Kavanaugh in his concurring opinion had his say about the NCAA. It is hard to believe that major changes aren't on the forefront, and NIL is only a signal of that, a very small change that is going to bleed into much larger changes. And it's hard to argue that that in and of itself is not a big reason for why Texas and Oklahoma are looking for a change right now. The money the SEC generates as a conference is astronomical. I understand that the Texas Longhorns is the largest brand in college football, but the SEC has been the most profitable conference in college football for quite some time. Adding Oklahoma and Texas into that mix, if you're the SEC, makes absolute sense. You're getting in two more brands that rank within the top 10 money earners in college football. That is hard to say no to, next to impossible to say no to, especially in the landscape we're living in now, where money rules everything. Adding in brands that marketable, that valuable, into a league that is already full of marketable and valuable brands is exponentially pleasing to the powers that be within the SEC. And if you're Texas and Oklahoma, you get to be major brands in a network and in a conference with other major brands. This right here is only going to be bigger for media deals, for all the deals that are going to come on, and attention to the SEC is going to be at an all-time high, and it already is very high. Now, Texas and Oklahoma are in an interesting position because they are set to profit massively from this, monetarily, and I think if we look at the product that will be put on the football field, Oklahoma has been playing phenomenal football for quite some time. Their defense has really been coming together. I mean, Alex Grinch is doing some phenomenal things there. But that progression can be continued and even furthered in the SEC, because now a recruiting pitch that the Oklahoma Sooners has is play in the league that sends the most people to the NFL, because the SEC has become a farm system to the NFL, and that's what a lot of these kids are after. That is an incredibly powerful recruiting pitch, and it's not absent the Texas Longhorns being able to use that pitch either. Two massive brands in a league full of massive brands that's known for sending individuals to the next level. That is such an enticing offer. But what does it mean for the Big 12 specifically? Well, it's not good, because outside of Texas and Oklahoma, the Big 12 12 could find themselves in trouble. And in fact, I think we could see the Big 12 dissolve as a whole. Now, we've seen on Twitter that the president of Oklahoma State is mad that Oklahoma would do this because they say it's going to have a negative impact on the state of Oklahoma. And even some of you in my comments have asked whether or not I think that the Oklahoma State legislature would allow this to pass because of some of the polls that Oklahoma State alums have. The thing I think that we need to remember is, like I said earlier in this video, money rules everything. And the Oklahoma Sooners would profit massively from this move. The city of Norman would profit massively because the SEC travels incredibly well, and the TV and market media deals that you would get would be through the roof. It's hard for me to see a reason for them to say no, especially when you look at it in a situation where, regardless of what happens now, it's unlikely that the Oklahoma State is also added in. So if you're Oklahoma State, the best thing you could do is probably reach out to the Big 10 or the ACC to try and get a move there as quickly as possible. And I don't think Oklahoma State will be alone. In fact, I'm very interested in this coming week to see which teams are reaching out to which conference, because this could signal the end of the Big 12. And you don't want to miss the videos coming out with other great content creators such as Texas Homer and Traphouse Boomin. If you aren't subscribed to either of their channels, please go do so. Both of them make phenomenal college football content. Both of them will be on very soon to talk about this move and the larger implications it has. But as the time that this video is shot, the Big 12 is in serious trouble because it has also been reported that Texas and Oklahoma may be looking to make this move sooner rather than later, and that the 2025 date may be something that could be bought out, and that's something we're going to be talking about at length. So be sure to stay tuned for that. That's it. See ya.